From working in a garage to building cars, motorbikes, jets, robots, and owning 2 racetracks, Honda has stuck their fingers into many pies. So today, I'm going to give my definitive story about Honda Motors and Acura's history. So pay attention, because you're watching the Ferrarinator. The origins of Honda Motors. Soichiro Honda's beginnings started in the mid-1930s when Soichiro Honda worked at his first garage where he tuned cars. In 1937, Honda decided to create his own company called Tokei Sachis, which supplied Toyota with piston rings. In 1941, Soichiro Honda was working extremely hard and attended engineering school where he learned Toyota's quality processes. A year later, Toyota was able to produce piston rings at a mass rate, which met Toyota's standards, and that same year, Toyota bought 40% of Honda's Tokei Sachis plant. Then, World War II was looming. 2 years later, after the B-29 incident, which obliterated Tokei Sachis factory, therefore, Honda had nothing left. So Honda sold the remains of his company to Toyota for 450,000 yen. He invested the rest of his money into establishing the Honda Technical Research Institute in 1946, which the goal was to produce a small 2-cylinder bike. Sadly, on August 5th, 1991, the founder of Honda, Soichiro Honda, perished, and his last car he inspected was the Honda Beat, which had a Pininfarina designed exterior. In 1959, Soichiro Honda, the founder and president of Honda, announced during a meeting to propose the construction of a welfare facility for Suzuka factory, which led to the birth of Japan's first full-scale road racing circuit. Quote from Soichiro Honda: "I want to have a venue for motor racing. Automobiles cannot be improved if they are not put through their paces on the racing circuit." Suzuka Circuit was designed as a test course for motorcycle manufacturers who did not have their own proving grounds. In fact, the purpose of the course's construction was to enable these manufacturers to fulfill their responsibilities in the sale of quality products. Unfortunately, as better motorcycles were developed with speed and performance exceeding the levels for which the course was originally intended, safety became a major concern for competitors and spectators. Again, for Honda, they struck even into more trouble when they tried to acquire some land from the rice farmers. Then, the public misinterpreted it, and they thought the intention of the circuit was a circuit for gambling. However, Soichiro Honda ordered the precious rice field not to be destroyed, so the project team had to decide a new place where the new circuit needs to be built. The original plan for the circuit was to be built within the rice fields, but they couldn't. So what they had to do was build it near the midsection of the mountain, which they acquired as land. Then the project team went on a journey to Europe to explore the circuits, to study their facilities, racing rules, and systems of operation in order that an agreeable solution might be reached. While they were in Europe, they peeled off surface materials from different circuits, even Germany's Autobahn. Here's where things get bizarre for Honda. They contracted Nippon Hodo, a company which has no experience for paving racecourses, but test ovals. As expected, they ran into many problems with adjustments to make the specifications they had to create. In addition, new construction methods were used for the multi-level crossings to overcome difficulties arising from the rigorous requirement for flatness and consistency. The Suzuka circuit was nearly finished. Soichiro Honda flew in and said, quote, "They are doing a good job of creating a course that is close to what the drawing envisions," end quote. Finally, on September 20th, 1962, Honda opened their doors to the world. And that is history for Suzuka Circuit. Then in 1973, Honda released a Civic, Honda's longest lasting car in their range, with the Accord coming a close second. What made the Civic so popular at the time due to the oil crisis of 1973 in America, when Americans had to pay more dough to get their fuel. So America was trying to build cars for the short term, like the Chevrolet Vega, Ford Pinto, and AMC Pacer, and they were ferocious. Luckily, the Honda Civic arrived at the right time with great fuel economy, amazing reliability, with 51% surviving, according to Honest John in 2014. Thanks to sturdy design and nothing else except reliability, the Honda Civic was good, and that's all you need to know. In 1976, Honda released the Accord, which is the car that sits above the Civic. The design phase of the Accord was interesting, where they had two groups designing a car, with Group 1 proposed a slow, sleek car which looks were inspired by the Lotus Elise, whilst the other group proposed a more orthodox two-door coupe which reminisces bullet trains. First, can I mention the sketch of the rear? It looks like an AMC Pacer. The first group of the Accords won, so the next step was putting the design and making it reality. In my opinion, the design of the Accord doesn't really look as good as the sketch, because it isn't as ambitious enough, and similar to the Civic, but it could be worse. And in 1983, Honda made the CRX, a Civic Coupe. In 1985, Honda of America started importing the CRX from Japan. Then some sources say the CRX was delayed due to durability and reliability problems. Kudos for Honda for sorting out the reliability and durability compared to some companies. The 85 CRX is a good-looking car, which in the UK was the renaissance of the sports car. When Lotus isn't reliable. Now Honda returned to Formula 1 after a 15-year hiatus. They've returned to Formula 1 as an engine manufacturer, which Honda supplied engines for over a decade for teams like Spirit, Williams, Lotus, McLaren, and Tyrrell. I'll focus on Honda/McLaren's relationship. What's really impressive is the 1988 McLaren Honda won 15 races out of 16 races thanks to the best of the best drivers and amazing reliability. In 1986, Honda founded Acura, a luxury arm of Honda which made cars for America, China, Canada, and even one point, Russia. Their first car was the Acura Legend, a huge luxury sedan which shared the same chassis as the Honda Legend and Rover 800, but I have to admit, I do kind of like this car. Acura's breakout car was the NSX, aka New Supercar Experimental. This car was inspired by the MG EXE. The NSX was tested by Ayrton Senna on Suzuka circuit. The testing lasted for a month, and the engineers at Honda were confident that the mid-engine supercar was exceptional. Whilst Senna was testing, he said, quote, "I'm not sure I can really give you appropriate advice on a mass production car," said Ayrton Senna, end quote. Trying to temper his criticism with kindness, quote, "But I feel it's a little fragile," end quote. What could a masterpiece be even better? Make it durable and reliable. At the time, it was destroying Ferraris and Lamborghinis, whilst being easy to drive. What else could be the next step of the NSX? Just add Type R and add a red badge. Then the Type R brand trickled down to many cars in their range, including the Integra, Prelude, Accord, and Civic. Sadly, on August 5th, 1991, the founder of Honda, Tsuchiro Honda, perished, and his last car he inspected was the Honda Beat. On July the 31st, 1997, Honda opened the new track called Twin Ring MotoG, which was to fulfill Honda's dream of bringing IndyCar to Japan. It took over 4,000 days to bring this dream. Welcome to the Honda S2000, a sports car which had a world record of 123.5 horsepower per litre, which the Ferrari 458 took in 2009, with 124.5 brake horsepower per litre, which the Honda S2000 won the Engine of the Year in 2000. I like the Honda S2000 stock, and I don't like it being modified / riced with aftermarket parts. Thank Underground and Fast and Furious for that. My second favourite Honda Civic was the 8th gen Euro spec. I mainly like this car due to its futuristic exterior design and smooth edges, which the Americans begged for. I couldn't blame them, due to the boring sedan, which was as dull as dishwater. September of 2005, Honda bought 55% of BAR, becoming the stake owner. In 2006, Honda was looking good in pre-season with the RA106, which Honda, having one of the most powerful V8s, they must win Formula 1 any year. In Melbourne 2006, Honda got pole with Jenson Button. That same race, neither other teams got any points, but in Hungary, Button finished first position whilst Barrichello came fourth. After Honda had an abysmal 2 years and tried throwing money at it, but the damage was done. Honda couldn't do anything with it. So they had to find a new buyer who wanted to buy Honda for £300 million. But team principal Ross Brawn and his team executive Nick Fry renamed the team to Brawn GP, which Button won the World Championship in 2009. In 2009, in America and Canada, Acura decides to create the world's most useless car after the X6, which they called it the ZDX. It unfortunately didn't sell well, and it did not catch well because it was too expensive. But if it was sold today, maybe it could do well. I'm not sure, but I don't care. Also in 2009, Honda made the CRZ a sporty hybrid. Wait a minute, am I reading from the right script? Because it's a weak hybrid and a not so sporty 2+2 car for all I can say. Surprisingly, I like this car with its smooth looks and idea, but they couldn't execute it well. In my opinion, the result to save this car was ditch the motors and add more power. Then in 2015, Honda returned to Formula 1 as an engine supplier, which supplied to McLaren. Surprisingly enough, they were supposed to be supplying engines in 2016. The Honda F1 V6 debuted in 2014 at Yas Marina, showing us what Honda could do. Luckily, the Honda-powered McLarens did okay, with Magnussen finishing 11th and Button finishing 6th place. That's the pinnacle of Honda's engine, and it goes downhill from there, from going midfield to second to last. It's excruciatingly bad. In my opinion, it's McLaren's, FIA, and Honda's fault to an extent, because McLaren demanded the engine early due to nostalgia. FIA's fault for the rules in Formula 1, which the grid penalties are ridiculous, and Honda's fault, we do not know. Maybe their fortunes will change when Toro Rosso get their engines on the engine and rub some Red Bull magic. Then maybe Red Bull might jump onto the bandwagon too and get some Honda magic too. Let's see if it's cursed or not, the engine. In 2015, the Honda S660 took off where the beat begun. The reason it's called S660 is because it has a 660cc engine, the maximum engine placement for a kei car in Japan. I like the design due to the angular sporty design whilst trying to be sensible. Sadly, even though it's an amazing car, it won't be very commercially successful outside Japan because everyone likes huge/big cars. Somehow Honda went full out racing with the Mark X Civic Type R. The last Civic Type R was way better than the 8th gen because it was more powerful and crazier than stock. What I like about the new Civic Type R is off the hook with its craziness with the normal front and the craziest rear known to man. It's only got two problems. The engine doesn't sound as crazy with free exhaust as expected, and with the price of $30,000, you won't be getting your hands on it soon. But I guess you get the price of that. It's worth it. The Acura NSX was so well praised when the NSX was off the production line in 2005, everyone was sad to let it go. Honda, for years, were teasing us a new NSX, but until Detroit Motor Show in 2015, we thought this car will be amazing. Sadly, this car was a bunch of Acuras bunched up from 2012, and it was trying to look towards the future, but it wasn't acknowledging the heritage, what it was establishing. What should have happened for this car is, they should have kept this car under wraps until unveiling this car. Secondly, they should have came up with a new model name and a new car. Because that would have been amazing. Because the NSX is such a high bar to climb up to. Because this car is lackluster compared to the original. All we can say is, to redeem it, make a Type R. and add a V8, normally aspirated, so make it spicy as a ghost pepper, so the enthusiasts will be happy. At least, this car is better than McLaren's last 2 years in Formula. The future of Honda is going to be very interesting with the Urban EV, a car which is looking towards a future with an electric power plant, plus tech, and it reminds me of the past cars like the first gen Civic. In my opinion, the Urban EV will be more successful than the Tesla Model 3 because it's expensive with $30,000 and you can't play any music in it, and the Bolt, it's uncomfortable with the front seats and back, and it's just a mediocre car. If Honda made this car 10 to 20k, this will be successful commercially, and we will see Honda reinvent the car industry like they did in 1973. Also, Honda are hinting at a electric S2000, which at the time of this scripting, we can only see a striking rear photo, which looks like a reimagined S2000 with cubed lights. I'm not sure if I should trust it. In my opinion, the real future is hydrogen, because it's better for the environment, because water is unlimited, compared to electric, which producing it causes harmful fumes. The Honda Clarity was developed in 2008, and they were looking to save the world. Then it went silent for 9 years, until 2017, when Autocar did a review on it. This car is very expensive, with a price tag of £40,000 plus, which the Toyota Mirai costs 62 grand. Which, if it's my money, I'd buy the Clarity because it's nicer to look at and it's cheaper. Luckily, hydrogen stations will be more accessible, but at this moment, buy a G-Wiz or a SsangYong if you're an environmentalist. Conclusion. What does the brand Honda Motors mean to me? A brand which reminds me of reliability, a brand which never stands still and sometimes likes to spice things up with an occasional supercar or the Type R brand. Meanwhile, Acura, a boring Lexus knockoff, which the new old NSX is the only model which I care about. So Acura, make me care like the early Lexus brand, which poured £1 billion into their development of the first generation Lexus LS. So Acura, be hungry, because you're stagnating at this moment, and I'd like you to prove me wrong, so create something revolutionary. The most fascinating part of this video is Honda designed my favourite track ever, Suzuka Circuit, and Soichiro Honda owned a 1969 Pontiac Firebird, which inspired the Honda 1300. Thanks for watching this video. What's your memory of a Honda and Acura? Tell me if you've driven one and stuff. And all I can say is, on that bombshell, keep on inventing.